Well, hello there, everyone. Here to talk to you about right here is Big Bird lunch tickets. Is basically talking about right here is with lunch tickets and with most parents and kids, if they're familiar with like what you say, if you were to go to at the school it was if you were to actually have a tour that sign up for for your kid to get lunch tickets it is, and basically talk about understand knowing about like with most of us, if we have situations to where that if we run short, you say on the pocketbook it is, or if it's anything related to it, making sure that the child has the right nutritious meal during the lunch hour, and at the school was, and knowing about to where that they would apply for lunch tickets it is. Basically, tickets they're they're paid for by the state it is. It's like by the school district on paying is like for the lunches and all all the student really has to remember is to bring the ticket. Apparently they would give you like a back then that they had the tickets kind of like these right here, to where they were like cards. They were made like say out of a paper type product it is that they would be like a hole puncher that they would punch the holes you say right down on the bottom. You say is for number one and number two, and usually they last for about a week, something like that. A lot of times the lunch tickets that I can remember using back in the middle school was that they had it to where that they would punch it, and from day one, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday it was that they would punch it by the days about that you would be qualified say for for the lunch paid for lunch. And a lot of times, I guess that they would say it's like you say for a free lunch. It is knowing about right here. You got right here's the lunch ticket, and with most parents, it's like with the lunch tickets. It is that if you were to apply for if you were to fill out the papers, for the lunch ticket, it is, and a lot of times it's by the name. The last time I used a lunch ticket, it was those couple of years ago. It was I can remember whenever I was in high school. It was that I think that they had it to where that you would be able to fill out apply for a lunch ticket. If you if your parents are legal guardians, if they could not afford to buy lunches every day, that whenever you would go to the cafeteria and want to get some, because I know what that's like about going to the cafeteria and find out that a couple times I have gotten sack lunches, especially over there at the school. That a lot of times that they would have it to where like say day one, it's like have day one, day one, and then day two, and then day three. See, day three and day four and day five. And a lot of times that they would punch that they would be like, which days like a little spots on the tickets to where they would hole punch each one of them. You'll buy each day that you would get your lunch. It was, and I can remember collecting tickets. Most of my childhood, I can remember getting those lunch tickets, because I know a lot of times the lunches were between for like a tray lunch, it was like about $3 or $4 or something like that. And anybody can maybe think about that $3 or $4 is kind of affordable back then. But on the other hand too, that knowing about with me though, that I'm like that, yeah, that if you're talking about $4 or $5 a day or something like that for lunches it is. But the way I would think about it, I'm like, hey, it all adds up. If you're talking about, especially if the kid wants a snack to go along with it, a bag of chips, or if it's like maybe you say a carton of milk. A lot of times if it's milk or juice or something like that, that a lot of times it's like if they want a snack to go along with it, then a lot of times it adds up to maybe a few cents it is. And knowing about that, a lot of times it with most schools that they would have like what you call like countertops. It's like a lot of times in say in at the schools that they would have counters desk like these, to where that sign up for your lunch tickets. It is talk to the school district, and then they will be able to arrange it to where they the child would be able to get lunch tickets. It is, and basically that It's I think I never filled a form out before, but I think nowadays that they have it to where that you either you call a number provided, or you would fill out something online. But if you were to have your sign up for your child, to get that lunch tickets, it is that have it to where you fill out the paperwork and knowing about sort of how much, of course, how much the financial pocket it is, about how much you're making, say a year it is, a monthly rate, and then from there, and then they say that then there's a form that you fill out, it is, and then they would give you a lunch ticket a lot of times, and a lot of times they say that most of the time that that the student's responsibility was, of course, was to provide, was to bring their lunch ticket with them, and have it with them whenever they're getting ready to have their lunch. It is that to bring it with them, and because this reminds me of a story, as whenever I had be a student with my glasses, it is like with Big Bird and their glasses, is like that if you be working on something in the classroom, it is talking about, it's like for A, B, and C, it is A, B, C, D, and you're working on, if it's an English class or something like that, science class, and a lot of times it's like it talking about what the date it is. It's like you're writing down the date, and then by the time you go to lunch, it was, and knowing about, it's like with the lunch tickets, and a lot of times I remember in the cafeteria over there at the Cosley Elementary, and of course Becky David Elementary, I can remember that they had it where you wait in line a lot of times. You would wait in line, to go up to the computers. They would have computers that say register. I think if they like registers, it is that they will pull up your name, and if you had money in the computer, you'll be able to buy, get yourself a lunch, and if you're charging, of course they would have, like what they give you sack lunch, it was. But on the other hand too, that knowing about that my experience, of course, from what I had, of course, about lunches, it is that especially at the middle school, that they had it to where that if you that a lot of times if you can't pay for your lunch, and then a lot of times that they would want you to just they give you a bag of chips or something like that to snack on. But the way I would think about with most states is nowadays that they have it to where that really that's something to be concerned about. If parents cannot afford to provide, it's like enough budget, money on a pocketbook, which, like with me though, that knowing about that they're not eating like they should be, because they can't afford their lunch, it is, and then they would provide the lunch tickets, it is, and with the lunch tickets that they say that with most students that they apply to them. But we can also think about with these lunch tickets that they're not for snacks. They're not getting made for what you call buying you snacks and snack chips and stuff like that from the cafeteria, and more likely there are some things, of course, that lunch tickets more likely would pay for. Some things on random, could be like what you call is like anybody probably think about if it's like maybe a cookie, if you want to get a cookie from the cafeteria, and like with me though, that a few things that maybe I want from the cafeteria too, that I think a couple of times that for like a snack or something like that, maybe for like a bag of chips or a candy bar. I know at the cafeterias over there at the middle school, a lot of times that they had it to where that they had a snack bar area, that a section in the cafeteria where you can buy a snack. It was a candy bar, it was. And I can remember my first time, I may have mentioned before, my first time going there, and then the next day that they want you to I would watch other people go into the snack bar, and of course they type in their student ID. It is a lot of times with most schools that they have it to where their student ID it is, and with your student ID, it's like knowing about if you have your student ID with you, and then type in your student ID, and then from there, and of course you would pay the person at the register, at the cash register, pay them for whatever amount, if it was which cost 73 cents or something like that, for the candy bar, or if it was $1.30, $1.30, maybe $2.50, something like that, for a bag of chips or something like that. For my first time going into that snack section, it was like, yeah, that the very first time I went in there, and I can remember that what you really need to do, and because it was not in a separate room, it was like if I can draw it out here, that maybe go ahead and use a pen here, but it was basically that you have right here is the register right here. You got right here is the register, and you got the counter right here, and then it would be like what you call is like a place right in here where you can, a few shelves and stuff like that, and a place where you can actually walk into. There would be like what you call is like a wall right here to where you can actually walk into a certain spot to say it was in the cafeteria, but there will be somebody standing right here at the register, at the cash register it was, and you just walk in there and pick out a snack, and then you just walk up to the counter right here. Walk up to the counter right here and then type in your student ID. And my first time going in there, I would watch other people doing it, and then I had money on me, but on your hand too, that I can remember that you walk in. I would walk in there, and then I would walk up to the register and then type in my student ID, and then the register lady was like, "Hey, hold out her hand like, are you gonna give me the money or what?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, here's here's the money. If I can remember right, yeah, 50 cents or whatever I was getting. I think it was only 50 cents. Whenever I think I would get myself a bag of chips or something like that, or if it was a Reese's peanut butter cup, or if it was a Snickers bar, something that they had like a snack section, and had money with me, but on your hand too, that I was like, yeah, that you go in there and is it is it free or do you have to pay for it? And people are like, it's like you type in, because a lot of times I would collect lunch tickets, of course, from whenever I was in a middle school and that knowing about, you walk in there and then you got right here is the ID. They want to ask you to provide an ID, a student ID, type in your ID, and then you look up your information if you're on a student lunch ticket. And a lot of times they say it's paid for by the state. Paid for by school. By the state is like you get paid for by the state. Just go in there and bring your lunch ticket with you, and then they'll stamp it. And then of course for the next day, to be able to get your lunches and talk about do the math. It's like think about it, it's like oh no, it's like my lunch ticket. It's like you got to remember to have my lunch ticket with me. But other than that, knowing about right here is that you have your name, and so far as memories, of course, about my lunch ticket, that a lot of times you have your names in it on it, and I remember once or twice it was lost and found, and I was called to the office one time because somebody had found it. But on here with Big Bird, it'd be like knowing about, just tell people about what the issue is, about knowing about, hey, if you can't afford your lunch, then hey, the lunch tickets are there. But other than that, knowing about that, talk about the basic things about more likely about what the kid needs, about so far as eating the right proper meals and stuff, and talking about it's like what the typical food products. But other than that is talk about the lunch tickets, and talk about it's like basically study about it's like for Big Bird, Big Bird lunch tickets coloring activity.